Hello. So this is after the trip, but this is the intro for it. So you probably recognise this peripheral of a get up. But anyway, Scotland. So heading to Scotland. Early start in the morning, 4:30. Long trip. Unfortunately, didn't take much footage. It was my holiday. It was the first one in 10 years. So I did take some snaps, pictures and that, but I didn't take as much as I probably should have. But it's the first time away in a long time, so I have got some of it. So you can see what I did, where I went. So I went and visited Dalwhinnie Distillery, and I went to see Spey Distillery, which is about 10 miles away from Dalwhinnie, and Dalwhinnie is in the middle of nowhere. Got the train down, no problem, but when you get there it's like distillery, train station, a couple of houses, that's it. So I had to get a taxi from there up to King Ussy, found the correct pronunciation of that town, which is a bigger town. Thanks to Jerry of Avonmore Taxis for sorting me out. Very nice man. On time pick up and on time getting me to Speyside. So knows his area as well. Very knowledgeable man. Thanks very much. And he picked us up and took us home. Speyside. That was good. It was more of a one-on-one tour. With the head distiller, so that was quite good. Got to taste 8 different whiskies. First one we tasted is what they call the New Spirit, which is just freshly distilled, 71%. Yeah, that was hot. That burned all the way down. So yeah, that was good. But once you started sipping a few times, the heat disappeared and you just got the sweetness of the barley from the spirit. Very nice. And then we tried, what was it? It goes to the royal family. 150 quid a bottle. Got to taste that. Comes in a nice big light blue bottle. Very nice. Tasted a few others. I'm going to have to look them up. Come back to you on that. Or put up pictures of each one I've tasted. Not used to drinking whiskey and water. Usually drinking whiskey and a soft drink. But I learned quickly how to drink whiskey neat and with water that day. Boy, was I pissed when I left. And when you get a taster, it's usually like a little, no, this was like that in the bottom of a proper whiskey tasting glass. Boy, was it. And on an empty stomach, so nothing from breakfast, and I had 6 whiskies in Dalwhinnie beforehand. Yeah, so got back to the hotel, had to get a few coffees, went for dinner, had a few pints and another whiskey and went to bed. But yeah, good day. Also went to Wildlife Park, so saw polar bears in Scotland, believe it or not. Yeah. Saw some tigers, usual wildlife park, safari park type thing. And on the last day we kind of chilled. No, tell a lie. Next day we went to Speyside Cooperage. Now that was good. Saw how they take in the broken barrels that have been used, repaired, tested, treated, and then they're ready for going. So you'll see a load of footage and I'll speak over the top of how it went. We also went to Loch Ness, as you do, as I'm a tourist. Yeah, that was interesting. Went around the exhibition and took a few photographs of the loch. Didn't see him or her, wasn't about. Probably too warm for it, but anyway. And then the last day we went to the Cairngorm Brewery. That was good. think he said it was a 5-barrel, 3,500 litres they turnover per batch, and tasted 6 or 8 of their beers. I had a pint while I was there. I was drinking their stuff in the hotel and out and about. Best one I found, which was the Wildcat, which I'll show you now. And that was a cracking beer. Absolutely cracking beer. Nice malty, caramel, lovely beer. Drank that in the bottle all the time. They did have a few others in the hotel, but that was the one I always went to. Cracking beer. They have their own bottling plant there, and they contract bottle for a few other breweries. Weren't allowed in, which is understandable. But I did find a link, and I'll post it below so you can see their bottling plant. I didn't take any photographs of that because it didn't say yes you could, and they didn't say no you couldn't. But I just went online and I've grabbed a few photographs. It's probably more or less what I would have had anyway. Had a cheeky pint while I was sitting waiting because it was bloody hot. We walked up, stopped for lunch, had a pint there, and then we walked up. I think it was about 23, 24 degrees. Not what you want to walk in about 3-4 miles in. But yeah, cracking day. Only got little cups like that because they said they had to reduce them because you get to drink the samples very quickly in the space of about half an hour. So you probably end up with about 2 bottles of beer in a half an hour. All roughly about 5%. So I was up. Fortunately, we managed to get the bus back to the hotel. We had a couple more before we left on the Saturday. But yeah, cracking week. I'll definitely go back. Probably do it slightly different. I don't know if I'd stay in the same hotel because it was a good 40-45 minute walk up to the town. They were the cheapest at the time, which is the Hilton Columbridge. But yeah, busy hotel as well, very busy. But I probably would stay up in the town. There's a lot more things to do, pubs to see. The Cairngorm Brewery has their own pub there, so they sell nothing more or less but their own beers on cask, which would have been nice to try the Wildcat on cask, I must admit. They also brew the Loch Ness range of beers, so I had one of them. Brought a bottle home with me, drunk it, very nice. I think I've turned the bottle in here yet. No, I don't. I'm sitting in the kitchen to come out. But yeah, cracking beers. So yeah, I would go back. Probably go back for longer. Go back for 2 weeks instead of a week. But it was expensive. Well, I spent most of the time drinking, so it would be expensive. Because there's only one day actually. One day? I think it was only 1 day or 2 days I actually drove. But yeah, 1 day, I think. The rest we walked, got a train, whatever. I totally enjoyed the week. So, I'm going to put some photographs and footage together. I'll do a little voiceover. It might be a bit of a long one, so sit down with a pint and we'll get stuck in. So, I won't see you at the end. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Oh, welcome to another week. This week we're setting off for Scotland, and it's scary 4:30 in the morning. So setting off. We'll see you when we get to the boat. Well, as you can see, this is the ferry just coming into Cairnryan from Belfast. About 2.5 hour crossing. Stayed in the Stena Lounge, reserved for drivers, so you get quicker on board and off board. Free tea, coffee and snacks. We're bombing up the A9, I think it was. Heading over towards the hotel. So it took us about 11 and a half hours from start to finish. And that's the hotel we stayed at, the Hilton Columbridge. Very nice hotel, very busy. That's our room. Very nice room, nice and quiet. And that's the woodshed. That's on the grounds of the hotel, a little bit cheaper for beer prices. It's just like a big log cabin. Good selection of gin and whiskies, malt whiskies. It's next day. This is the train journey down to Dalwhinnie. Unfortunately, I sat on the wrong side of the train because the other side had the better view. Believe it or not. About 20-minute train ride. It's about 11 quid one way. This is coming in towards the Dalwhinnie Distillery. As you can see, there's the barrels with the name on it. That's the main part of the entrance into the distillery. I think that's the mash house there, and that's the visitor centre. Where you go in, get your tickets, have a little supple or something, tipple or something, and that's a wee seating area. It's the main shop where they display all their whiskies for sale and some of the heritage. As you can see, they have 4 in the picture, but they have 6 fermenting vessels. They brew 1 brew a day. Their mash tun is a 70,000 litre mash tun with 3.5 tonne of grain that goes in it. These are the stills. The first one you can see is the main still where they do their first distill, and the second one is where they do their second distill of the first spirit, and then it all gets blended together and put into casks. Okay, now we have the main cooling tanks, with each have a coil inside for each still, so each run will go through each still. So the first run will be done and it gets cooled, and then it gets run through the second still for a second run. Then it all gets put into a big spirit tank where it's all blended together, ready for casking. In this room, sorry for the poor photograph, it was grabbed off the net. This is one of the rooms they keep their casks in. They keep it a steady 14-15 degrees to stop evaporation from the casks. This is where I think they've only got 1 or 2 rooms like this where they store about 1,500 to 2,000 casks. Each cask holds, I think, 200 or 250 litres. Once it's matured then for 15 years, all the casks are emptied in one big vat. Then they're blended and let down to, I think it's 45%, and then bottled. So you don't get what's in that cask, it's all blended together, let out a wee bit to lower the strength for VAT reasons, and then sold to the shops. In the last room you get to taste Dalwhinnie 15-year-old and one other, which was the special edition, which you can only get at the distillery. Here, I can't remember what they all are, but one of them is a single cask, so what was in a cask is what you get to taste, which you never do get, because it's just the cost is too much. And then there was a Dalwhinnie 15-year-old Lizzie's edition, which is a lady that used to be the head distiller there, I believe, who's now retired, spent 30 odd years there, working from sweeping the floors up to the top ranks. And then it was just 2 others I can't remember, and you get a few chocolates to enhance the taste. But it was a pleasurable couple of hours. The lady that was doing the tour, very knowledgeable. She had a couple of French and German, so she's able to also help them understand how the process went. But it was a good day. If you're driving, they will put these into samples for you to take with you for later. Here you can see the outside of the cask room, so you can see how big it is. Now onto Speyside. What a visit! That's just there over the door. That's to part outside the distillery part. Used to be an old flour mill for about 200 years before they took it over in 1970. So the milling wheel is still there, which you can see. It's still operational, still works. As you can see, some of the old mill wheels, grinding wheels. Here we have the main grain store and mill. So they mill their own grain on site. They keep about 25 tonne on site at one time, so you can smell it while you're there. The big silver container at the back and the framework going up to the building we're standing beside. They grind the barley and it's then piped up to the mash tun through that system there. So it saves them have to hand carry it. So it's a conveyor that runs from there between the two buildings. I believe the buildings were hand built by somebody quite famous there. It took him about 20-30 years to do. And I'm actually built one of them quite wrong, so hence why it's got a funny dog leg on the building, I believe I was told. But yeah, so they do everything more or less in-house. Right at the back there is the manager's office, kind of visitor centre area. So it was a pleasurable day. We were there for 2 hours. Very good. Here we have the River Spey. This is right beside the distillery. This is where they get their water from, which comes down from the snow-covered mountains in the Highlands. Lovely, clear, crystal clear water. This is where they take it off and it comes down towards the distillery. As you can see, nice and clear, and then it goes down all the way down to the wheel. That's the back of the conveyor for the transfer of the milled grain to the distillery, to the mash tun in the other building. As you can see, goes up and over. Quite a clever system, saves carrying it in big bags or whatever. As you can see, it goes into the top there. Now, unfortunately I couldn't get any pictures inside, but I did manage to sneak this one. That's the smaller of the two distillery stills, which are hit by this steam room here, so it's all heated by steam. That's just another picture of the water coming down that's directed towards the old mill. This is Sandy. This is the guy that is the head distiller. He gave us the tour. This is a small room where they keep casks of small stuff, small whiskies, and this is what we got to sample on the day. As you can see, my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, but yeah, we had got to sample some of these. That's the Royal Choice. That's one I couldn't remember. I've got a wee half bottle of that at 50 quid sterling, and Dem Bake or whatever they call it. That I had some of that. Lovely. Now we're on to the Speyside Cooperage near Dufftown. We passed quite a few distilleries on the way. It's about 30 miles away from the hotel. You go in, we were quite fortunate. We landed there at 5 to 12 and there was a tour at 12 o'clock, so we were lucky. You go into a room where they show you a 15-minute video explaining how everything is done. It's quite ingenious. They would pump certain smells at certain points of the video to give you the experience. So when they were showing the oak trees in the forest, they were pumping in a smell for that. When they were firing the barrels to char them on the inside, they were blowing in the smoke smell, and they're turning on an infrared heat light to give you the heat of when they were burning the barrels on the inside. And then I think the final smell was maybe a bit of the whiskey going in. Very clever, well put together. Get to see a lot here. Very good place to visit. It was only a £5 or something like that. It wasn't very expensive. If you're ever over there, I do recommend this as a visit. These are some of the hand tools which is still used today to make or repair the barrels. I took a few, there's a big display case, so I took a few photographs of what they use to repair broken barrels, the lids, the sides. If there's more than 6 or 8 pieces broken on a barrel, they will not repair it. They will use it for spares to try and keep the barrels giving the same flavour to the whiskey when it goes in. as if you add new wood, it changes the barrel altogether. As you can see, these are the workmen. We were there at lunchtime, so I think they have 16 guys working on the barrels, stripping them down, replacing any damaged parts. Each of the coopers will make anywhere from 20 to 30 barrels per day from on a 9-hour shift. They're paid by the barrel, so the more you fix, the more you earn. They are tested, so you only get paid on the ones that are watertight at the time of testing. So it's a full-on job. It takes 4 years as an apprentice to become a full-fledged cooper. A lot of hard work. Here is the room where they machine and repair the end caps on the barrels. They're all the one size, just the barrel gets longer. They'd made too many, so there was nobody there working there that day. After the barrels are finished by the cooper, they put in this machine, fill the water, and any bands have been put on are pressed further on to the barrel to make it watertight, so when the whiskey's put in it doesn't leak out. And as you can see, this is where the barrels sit ready. This is where they sit ready for testing by the guy in the back there. Any leaks, the barrels are sent back and the cooper has to repair them so he can get paid.
So we think the cask's 60 to 80% of the flavour comes from the wood. If you will go on to add new wood, you do change the flavour of the whisky produced. So you get that consistent flavour to the whisky, you do have to keep the casks the same. They spend less time hammering, takes them less toll on their shoulders. The management, they get 3 more cask repairs in a day. So it keeps everyone happy, this machine there. Once the hoops are tight, we put some water into the cask, just a couple of litres of water. It helps keep the cask nice and moist. So before the cask is filled with whiskey, when it's being transported to the distillery, if you do leave the cask to dry out, throw the bungholes at the tops of the casks today. It's becoming more and more of a common thing to do. Just because we're actually making so much whiskey at the minute. We're putting so many casks into our warehouse and they're not all fit. So if you drill a bunghole on the side and you lay the cask on the side, you can't fit as many into the warehouse as you can if you drill it on the top. So yeah, precisely. Palletisation.
Here you can see the barrels outside. I think each pile like that has about 11,000 barrels. I think this is an old wine barrel converted into a seating area outside. And this is one of their old trucks. They're sitting there. And here we have the Cairngorm Brewery in Aviemore. Very nice place to visit. Worth going if you're in the area. Here's their shop. And you can see all the awards on the walls from SIBA. So they're doing pretty well for themselves. Good selection on display, and you can have a pint while you wait. Some of their range. And that's Malcolm, he was our tour guide for the day. On the left is the mash tun, on the right is the HLT. And that's the fermenters. They keep 11 bright tanks on site. Do a brew a day, just Monday to Friday. But turning over almost at the limit where they're going to have to start paying the higher tax. So they're a busy brewery. And I'll provide a link to the bottling plant below. See you next week. Thanks. Bye.